سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن تبعهم بإحسان وسلم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. أما بعد فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله وخير هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة كل ضلالة في النار. ثم أما بعد, we praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is this right to be praised. He deserves to be praised because of His perfection. La ilaha illahu. Nothing deserves to be worshipped except Him, Azza wa Jal. Today, reminder, inshallah ta'ala, is that which we may all have heard, if not all of us having reflected upon it to one degree or another. And if we have not heard it, it's from those statements of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam that are very important as it relates to Islam, the guidance of oneself as it relates to Islam, out of the darkness of ignorance, and out of the darkness of bad character, and out of the darkness of shirk and kufr, associating things with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, considering that there are things that exist or interacting with the creation of Allah in a manner as though it has the characteristics and the status of perfection that only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has, and as though it has the authority that only Allah has, in disbelieving in that which the Prophet ﷺ came with from the affairs of the unseen, khasatan yawm al-hisab, specifically as it relates to the day of judgment and being held accountable. And Abi Hurairah radiyallahu ta'ala anhu قال أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال من حسن الإسلام مرء تركه ما لا يعنيه. From the goodness of a person's Islam, من حسن الإسلام مرء, male or female, from the goodness of an individual's Islam, تركه ما لا يعنيه, is that he leaves what doesn't concern him, that she leaves what doesn't concern her. How is this relevant? The reality is, Allah guided us to Islam. Being in what condition? Coming from what condition? Dhalalun mubin. Being clearly astray. Being clearly astray. Lost, no guidance, no direction. Living a life of what? Conjecture. Living a life of guessing. The following of the desires. The following of preferred opinions. That's where we come from. That's not Islam. Following our desires. Following the preferred opinions of the philosophers and the guessers. And the people of shirk. The people of kufr. The people who do not deny the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's where we come from. The people who don't give Allah His just consideration. That's where we come from. Ignorant. Far away from the guidance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the question is, this hadith, with this hadith, the question is, what is important to us? Meaning, what should we concern ourselves with? Because when that is proper, then that will be a testimony to the goodness of our Islam, to the decency of our Islam, to the integrity of our Islam. And when that concern is displaced or misplaced, and we concern ourselves with things that are of no benefit to us, we concern ourselves with things that have nothing to do with whether we're getting closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or not. Because that's our main concern. We don't give consideration to our meeting with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we're going to meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So there comes a hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam from among many. The text of the Quran and the text of the Sunnah, they don't neglect helping the Muslim understand clearly what is important and what is not important. What is important at the beginning, what is important at the end, and what is important in between the beginning and the end. The text of the Quran and the Sunnah do not neglect it. What is important at the beginning? La ilaha illallah. What is important at the end? La ilaha illallah. What is important in between those two extents? La ilaha illallah. And everything associated with the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's what's important. So there comes in the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, two hadith inshallah ta'ala. Chapter heading: ما جاء في سؤال الله العبد عن علمه. What has come to us concerning Allah asking His servant about His knowledge. That's the chapter heading. But in this hadith, the Prophet ﷺ outlines three affairs. وَهِيَ شَامِلَةٌ. And these three affairs, they encompass all that we should be concerned with. Upon reflection, we'll see that they encompass all that we should concern ourselves with. All of the things that we should concern ourselves with and give the most importance to. When I read the hadith, inshallah ta'ala, become clear. Why? عن أبي برزة الأسلمي رضي الله عنه قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم لا تزول قدم عبد يوم القيامة حتى يسأل عن عمره فيما أفناه وعن علمه فيما فعل وعن ماله من أين اكتسبه وفيما أنفقه وعن جسمه فيما أبلاه. That's one أربع أمور. 4 matters, not 3. 4 matters. The Prophet ﷺ said that the servant, his 2 feet will not move. They will be planted and they will not move. He will not budge the day of judgment. On the day of judgment, Yawm al-Qiyamah, is he standing before his Lord to be what? Questioned. And the na'im, all of the delights. That's general. Now the Prophet ﷺ, he gives some detail. What have we taken delight in? His question, he's going to be asked about his life. How he utilized it in the context of fading away, advancing towards death. How did he use his life in that process of living to the end of dying? Was his life utilized? Secondly, وَعِلْمِهِ فِيمَا فَعَلَ, in his knowledge. And what, and did he utilize it? What was his actions? As relates to what he knew, or what she knew. Did they act upon that knowledge? وَعَنْ مَالِهِ, and his wealth, her wealth, their property. How they acquired it, and how they spent it. So when it comes to our wealth, we have to be mindful. It's not safety and security only in giving sadaqah after having acquired it from the means that are haram. But whether we're going to be questioned as to how we obtained it, and it's not sufficient to obtain it from the halal and then utilize it, or be greedy and utilize it upon that which is haram and selfish and of no benefit. Perhaps not even to yourself, or your family, or others. Be questioned about both of those affairs as it relates to the wealth. How we obtained it and how we spent it. وَجَسْمِهِ فِيمَا أَبْلَاهُ, his body, how that was utilized in his strength, in his health. We're going to be questioned about these affairs. So if you go back to the first hadith, من حسن الإسلام مرأة تركه ما لا يعنيه. And then we look at this narration. We become more aware after having been unaware. And none of us can claim that we knew these would be the things to focus on before they are taught by the Prophet ﷺ, before they are made clear by the Prophet ﷺ. Our life. And if we look at all 4 of these affairs, all 4 of these affairs, they are those things that we have no control over. in its attainment or possessing it. We have no control over it. Because even as it relates to wealth, a person can strive to the bone and struggle to the bone, and they're only going to get what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives them. And no doubt our life, we have nothing to do with it. Our lifespan, nothing. From the angle of that which Allah has decreed. When we will die, where will we die? No control. Our bodies, our health, the condition thereof, the strength thereof, no control. All of these affairs, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has established them. And it's upon the servant to respond with gratitude. It's upon the servant to respond with gratitude. So when we look at this affair, it brings us back to that point, that central point. What should our concern be? What should our concern be? What should we be concerned with? We should be completely concerned and entrenched in concerning ourselves with whether we are grateful to Allah or not. Whether we are grateful to Allah or not, that should be our concern. Whether we are exhibiting, whether we are expressing our gratitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the innumerable, countless blessings that He has bestowed upon us. Being aware, being completely aware that we're going to be asked about them. We're going to be asked about this reality. إِنَّا هَدَيْنَهُ السَّبِيلَ إِمَّا شَاكِرًا وَإِمَّا كَفُورًا قَالَ تَعَالَى. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Al-Insan, and indeed we guided him to the path, إِمَّا شَاكِرًا وَإِمَّا كَفُورًا, whether he be grateful or ungrateful. We guided him to the path, whether he be grateful or ungrateful. That's our concern. Allah will guide us to the path. Allah will put us right there. He will put us upon it. He will make it clear. Proofs, evidences. Will we be grateful or ungrateful? That's what we have to concern ourselves with. Nothing more. Nothing more. May Allah aid us. Bismillah. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi. The next narration from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and make the connection between the two, because there is a connection between the two. And it comes, ما جاء في من كان مفتاحا للخير. What has reached us in relation to the one who is a key, the access point to that which is good, that which is beneficial. And again, these are the affairs that we have to concern ourselves with. قال رسول الله عن أنس بن مالك رضي الله عنه قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم إن من الناس مفاتيح للخير مغاليق للشر وإن من الناس مفاتيح للشر مغاليق للخير فطوبى لمن جعل الله مفاتيح الخير على يديه وويل لمن جعل الله مفاتيح الشر على يديه. Prophet ﷺ, he said that from among the people, and again the assessment is to be made. It's only two groups that the Prophet ﷺ in this hadith, he put the people in two groups. He said, from among the people, and don't lose hold of where we come from. I want to be brief, but don't lose sight of where we come from and where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guided us to. And what we have to pay attention to and what we have to be focused on and what we have to strive to obtain. We want to be in one of these groups and we want to avoid being in the other. And there's no in between. There's no in between. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, from among the people, indeed from among the people, there are those who are the keys, the access points, the openers to that which is good. That which is good. From understanding the religion, to implementing the religion, to bringing about that which is beneficial to the people, safeguarding them from harm, and everything else that is khayr and beneficial, that is khayr wa nafi. Everything that's good and beneficial. Maghaliqa lishar. And while being access points and openers and keys to that which is good, they simultaneously, this is what is important, they simultaneously, they lock the doors and the ways to evil. They cut it off. They block it. They lock it. They shut it down. They don't mix the affairs where they're opening some doors to good as well as opening some doors to evil. They don't live in this manner. They open the doors and make the pathways to good accessible to themselves and to the people. And while simultaneously locking and closing those doors to evil. And from among the people there are those who, they are the keys and the gateways and the openers to that which is evil. And simultaneously they block and they lock and they shut down the ways to good. These are the two categories of the people. As it relates to our Islam, as it relates to the guidance of Allah, as it relates to understanding the religion of Allah, as it relates to getting closer to Allah, as it relates to that which we should be concerned with, day and night, these are the two groups of people. Are we opening the ways to good, or are we locking it and blocking it? Opening the ways to evil. This is our affair and this is our concern. And when we read the book of Allah, when we read the sunnah of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, this is what we have to be concerned with. Finding these realities, or the realities that make us from among those who are successful and prevent us from being from among those who are cursed and fail. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he continued in the hadith, he said, Fatuba, in paradise is for the one who Allah has made them keys to that which is good. You want to get to paradise? Start opening up the good, locking down the evil. That's how we get to paradise. For ourselves and for others. Open it. Make it accessible. Don't hinder. Don't keep away from the khayr. Don't prevent from the khayr. And he said, well, the hellfire, and the punishment of the hellfire is for the one who Allah makes them the keys, the gateways, the openers to that which is evil. He said, ala yadayhi. In both instances, it's in their hands. Allah makes them the openers to that which is good ala yadayhi. He opens that which is good by their hands. They have the ability. Allah gives them the ability. The ones who they open their gateways to evil, indeed they are trial and tribulation. But the reality is what? La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. There's no might or power or movement except by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So they are not outstripping the power and the wisdom of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in that which they do of evil. So don't think that we are escaping when we fall into sin and we feel and we experience no repercussion. But rather Allah has left us to that. And He's given us a key to go into that which is evil. Is that not enough of a punishment? Is that not enough of a warning? That Allah put in your hands a key that opened the door to something that is evil and harmful for yourself and for others. Is that not enough of a punishment? We ask Allah to take all of those keys away from us that give us access to that which is evil. We ask Allah to have mercy upon us and give us all of those keys, put them in our hands so that we can open up and have access to that which is good for ourselves, our families, our communities, our brothers and our sisters far and wide. So that we can be from among the people of paradise. That's what we have to concern ourselves with. So know that the Prophet ﷺ, again, the hadith of Abi Hurairah radiallahu anhu, he said, "Min husn al-Islam mar'i tarkuhu ma la ya'ni." From the goodness of a person's Islam is that they leave off what doesn't concern them. And the opposite is ma'loom or mafhum, is known and understood. From the goodness of a person's Islam is that they concern themselves with that which is important to them. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us from among those and count us from among the righteous in this life and the hereafter. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam. Subhanaka wa bihamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Aqim as-salah.